to be with us this morning. You may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will make my testimony available to the members of the committee. It is not in front of you currently. I was making some last-minute revisions and held the final draft, but I will make that certainly available to you. Chairman Clymer, Chairman Roebuck, colleagues, and members of the House Education Committee, Proverbs 18:2 says, "A fool finds no pleasure in understanding, but delights in airing his own opinions." I appreciate your willingness to hold this hearing on an issue of great consequence. You've sought to gain understanding prior to airing your opinion via formal committee action. I appreciate your time and your attention. I also have attempted to live by the principles of Proverbs chapter 18 since coming to the General Assembly less than a year ago. I came to the conclusion that a strong, meaningful, comprehensive teacher evaluation system was needed after numerous conversations with constituents, families, teachers, school administrators, and education policy experts. My wife, a teacher in her 5th year, has also been a strong and influential advocate. She's a strong and influential advocate on a whole host of issues, political and otherwise. This past summer, I scheduled meetings with Secretary Tomales and Deputy Secretary Dumaresque and concluded that my views in regards to the need for such a system of teacher evaluation matched those of this administration. This led me to introduce House Bill 1980 and ultimately here to testify before you. As has already been mentioned, during the 2009-2010 academic year, 99.4% of our public school teachers in the Commonwealth were rated as satisfactory. Yet results from the 2011 PSSA showed 26% of students are performing at or below the basic level in reading. 23% are performing at or below the basic level in mathematics. An evaluation system that yields such disconnected results between teacher performance and student achievement is not accurate, nor in the best interest of our students or our teachers. First and foremost, our concern must always be our young people and their preparedness for the future that awaits them. I believe that we, as members of the General Assembly, must be their champion. We know there are many factors that influence academic success. To be sure, a student's own motivation and support from family plays a crucial role. However, research is conclusive that high among those factors of success is an effective teacher in the classroom. Rigorous studies consistently show that the impact of high-performing teachers is substantial. Eric Kanushik, a senior fellow at the Stanford University's Hoover Institution, writes compellingly of the economic impact of teachers on individual students. A good but not great teacher increases each student's lifetime earnings by $10,600. Consider a class of 20. Under such circumstances, the teacher at the 60th percentile will each year raise students' aggregate earnings by a total of $106,000. A teacher at the 84th percentile will shift earnings up by $400,000. The opposite is also true. A low performing at the 16th percentile of effectiveness will have a negative impact of $400,000 as compared to an average teacher. Our students have a civil right to a quality teacher in every classroom. We must therefore identify who those teachers are. We must retain them. We must encourage them, ensure our students have access to them, and we must assist those teachers who are struggling. The students facing the greatest hurdles to their education must have access to the highest performing teachers. Today, we simply do not have a meaningful method for identifying who those teachers are. Our concern must also be the success of our educators. Our educators deserve meaningful feedback for their own professional development. The current system limits meaningful and actionable feedback and perpetuates the status quo. Teachers need and deserve accurate feedback, including the incorporation of student performance data, to improve their practice in order to ensure our students are taught by professionals who continuously grow and improve. Therefore, Pennsylvania needs a more robust system that distinguishes between educators who are excelling, those who are struggling, and need support to improve. The cost to this Commonwealth and our nation by our failure to act is high in this era of intensifying international competition. I'd like to briefly highlight House Bill 1980. This legislation does not attempt to micromanage every detail of the evaluation system, nor should it. It does, however, implement a framework for the department to work with those in the field to implement a comprehensive plan. The Department of Education's ultimate system will reflect the input and desire of the over 100 local entities who are participating in the department's pilot. This legislation seeks to replace the meaningless current rating scale of satisfactory or unsatisfactory. My bill expands the scale to 4: distinguished, proficient, needs improvement, and fails. 50% of the evaluation is based on traditional teacher practices: planning and preparation, classroom environment, instruction, professional responsibilities. These are based on the Danielson rubric, which has been revised specific to Pennsylvania needs and is being utilized in the pilot program. Over 100 school districts statewide are part of this pilot program and will have the opportunity to give the department feedback about necessary changes and implementation. 50% of the evaluation shall be based on student performance. This will include, but is not limited to, performance on assessments, value-added assessment data, growth, other measures and assessments to be determined and approved by the department. The Department of Education is now working with teachers, administrators, school district, and other education experts to develop the specific details of that student performance portion of the evaluation. Again, my legislation provides the framework for the department to design and implement the tool. School districts are given flexibility to recommend other elective performance assessments that must be approved by the department. The legislation purposefully and appropriately does not specify how teachers, their individual subjects, including those not assessed by the PSSA or perhaps Keystone exams, are evaluated. Those determinations and how proficiency and growth scores are specifically weighted will be determined by the Department of Education. Phase 2 of the statewide pilot has been specifically tasked with assisting the department with making those decisions. The department is forming the details of the evaluation tool based on the feedback that it receives from stakeholders. The legislation provides for other measures for grades and subjects not assessed, and that will eventually include valid and reliable measures of student achievement. Legislation also includes non-teaching professionals and includes principals in the 2013-2014 school year. I think it's important to note in closing what other states are and have been doing to assist educators and promote student achievement. 29 states have made policy changes related to teacher evaluations in the years between 2009 and 2011. 23 states require annual evaluations informed in part by standardized tests for all teachers. More significantly, perhaps, 18 states now specify that teacher evaluations are to be, quote, significantly informed by student achievement and growth. 13 of those states require that student achievement and growth is the preponderant criterion in teacher evaluations. Perhaps most interestingly is the case of one of the nation's most challenged school districts in the District of Columbia. Their impact teacher evaluation system is now entering its 3rd year. This evaluation system, like the one that I'm proposing, uses multiple measures of classroom performance to gauge effectiveness and provide feedback to teachers. Many DC teachers report, after expressing feelings of great initial skepticism, that they now have the feedback and support they need. The early evidence is very encouraging. Nearly 60% of teachers who scored minimally effective in the first year of impact and stayed in the district improved to effective in the 2nd year. Of that, 3% were highly effective and 55% effective. It's encouraging to see the impact the system has had in just 3 short years in Washington, D.C., and the impact it's had on the professional development of those educators. To put this in real numbers, this represents 328 teachers. Think of the impact this new feedback has had on the students attending those schools in Washington, D.C. Like my plan, the components of the impact rating system are ambitious. 50% of the evaluation is based on individual value-added student achievement data. 5% is based on school value-added achievement data, a full 55% based on achievement data. The remaining 45% is based on observed practices and demonstration of commitment to school and community. What we are attempting to do in House Bill 1980 is certainly not without precedent. In fact, we may be lagging behind what a majority of other states and the District of Columbia are already doing. It's time for us to be as ambitious for our children and for our teachers. My many thanks for your time, and I look forward to your input. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.